decided to invade the NHL.
Everybody, I respect everybody's choices. My choice is to stay true to myself and my religion. That's all I'm going to say. Like I said, that's all I'm going to comment on that. If you have any hockey questions, I would answer those.
Can you just clarify can you clarify your religion?
Russian Orthodox.
So with the game tonight, Ivan, obviously Kevin Hayes got a hat trick, and Rasmus's first goal of the season. Can you walk us through the emotion that the team was feeling in that?
Yeah, for sure.
Before we talk about Ivan Provorov, which of course is pronounced Ivan Provorov in Russian, I want to tell you guys a quick little story, quick little background, really quick, to kind of set the scene here. Now, guys, we're obviously talking about the woke mob and them coming after Provorov. And don't worry, we'll also have head coach John Tortorella. He had his thoughts. I thought he answered them perfectly. We'll get to that here in a second. But I want to kind of give you guys a little bit of background on myself as far as sports is concerned. And don't worry, the Philadelphia Flyers organization has got something to do with it. When I was a little kid, the very first sport that I watched was baseball. I think I was about 5 or 6 years old. I was playing t-ball. And, of course, there were 2 teams on television. Well, technically 3 teams on television that we used to watch growing up. Those teams were the Atlanta Braves, who were broadcast on TBS. You also had the Chicago Cubs and Chicago White Sox that were, by the way, broadcasted on WGN Sports. Also something else, we watched basketball too, or at least I did. Not only do you watch a little bit of college basketball, me, of course, I've always kind of favored Duke, and also at the same time, being from North Carolina, you kind of favor a North Carolina boy, even though he was from UNC, but on WGN, you also got a heavy dose of the Chicago Bulls. So, obviously, you become a sports fan, obviously through watching television, of course, playing sports yourself. When it came to the NFL, I gravitated towards the Green Bay Packers because the Packers games were typically on television once a week, and I also had a couple of family members that were Packer fans, and I became a Brett Favre fan, so therefore, I kind of sort of gravitated towards the Green Bay Packers organization. However, in the case of the NHL, there was this game that was called NHL Face-Off 1998. And there was this team that I always chose to play as because, of course, you play video games too. Even in the 90s, you played a lot of video games. And that team I always chose was the Philadelphia Flyers, even though I was playing mostly the Detroit Red Wings because back in those days, it just still like they featured like the top 2 teams you could pick from with the 2 teams that were in the Stanley Cup Finals. Well, I always picked the Flyers, even though they had lost the year before. And the player that was kind of sort of became my favorite player was Eric Lindros. And, of course, eventually you had John LeClair, the old Legion of Doom, basically. So if you're a Philadelphia Flyers fan and you kind of pick up on this video, you probably know where I'm going with this. Well, the Philadelphia Flyers organization, for whatever reason, has kind of sort of been going woke, or at least in a woke direction for a while. They eliminated the Kate Smith statue, the lady who sang God Bless America at their first Stanley Cup Finals win. They eliminated that statue over a song that she did early in her career. Don't worry, we're not going to say it because the YouTube censors will find a way to strike this video for the weirdest of explanations. So the Philadelphia Flyers organization having something like a Pride Night doesn't really and truly surprise me, even though I felt that Provorov handled this very perfectly well because I wouldn't bow down to these people. These people are bloodsuckers and they go out of their way. I just put it this way here. This woke mob, they just like to be incensed about anything and everything. Now, guys, I am not against anybody in the LGBTQ community playing in the NHL. I'm not against anybody of any orientation playing in sports, period. Unless, of course, I'm not okay with biological men who pretend to be women, of course, playing in female sports. And I'm not okay with females who pretend to be men playing in men's sports. I'm not okay with that right there. That is a completely separate issue. However, at the same time, I really and truly do not care what your sexual orientation or what your religion is when you go play a sport. I mean, dude, I served in the Marine Corps with guys who were Christian. I served with guys who were Catholic. I served with guys who were freaking atheists. So, I mean, obviously, you're going to be around people of different backgrounds. I'm from the Southeast. I grew up around black people and I grew up around Hispanics constantly. When I served in the Marine Corps, same exact thing. Very, very diverse community. So, therefore, I hold no racial bias against anyone. That right there being said, though, this issue right here, I think we need to look at something very, very clearly. Provorov saying that it's against his religion does not surprise me. You see, he's of the Russian Orthodox faith. Now, guys, let me explain something to you guys real quick about the country of Russia. Now, guys, I'm putting up Ivan Provorov's birth date, birth year, and everything. He was obviously born in the 1990s. Now, obviously, he did not sustain or have to live through the days of the Soviet Union. But he did, in fact, live through the days after the Soviet Union's collapse. And I'm pretty sure that his mother and his father They grew up in that time frame before the Soviet Union collapsed. They remember what communism was like. I'm pretty sure at the exact same time, his grandparents were also, guess what? Veterans of that time frame in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. Those right there are the days of Khrushchev and Brezhnev. And I'm pretty sure the great-grandparents may have even fought in World War II against the Nazis. Communism, by the way, is pretty freaking bad, but then again, at the same time, though, Nazism is also pretty freaking bad. So is fascism. National Socialism itself and communism and fascism, all three are very, very much on the left. So Ivan Provorov probably recognizes through the stories that he has been given that the things that are going on right here in the United States is kind of the things that his family may have been accustomed to dealing with in the Soviet Union. You're probably thinking to yourself, oh my God, you just equated America with the Soviet Union. No. I equated our media with the Soviet Union, the Nazis, and of course the fascists. You probably got a little bit confused, but seeing how at the very, very beginning of the video, Provorov was of course surrounded by these mediaites, you should not be surprised that he may have leanings of that way. And of course, even though you have a right to practice your way of life, I'm pretty sure that Provorov feels that he has a right to practice his way of life. It is protected, of course, by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution that he can practice whatever religion he wants. And I think that the head coach, John Tortorella, handled it the right way.
Warm-ups before the game. There was a report that he wasn't in warm-ups because he didn't want to wear the Pride jersey for Pride Night. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I think the organization has sent out a release regarding the organization, the beliefs that we have, and how we feel about it, and really a great night. With Provi, he's being true to himself and to his religion. This has to do with his belief in his religion. And it's one thing I respect about Provi. He's always true to himself, and so that's where we're at with that.
Was there any consideration on your part when he chose not to wear the jersey to not play him as a result?
No. I'm not going to answer many more questions on it because I just think it's unfair. I know you're going to probably talk to Provi, but yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I think it was a great night in celebrating. Organization has put out a statement, and I'm not going to get too deep into the conversation. Those are the comments as far as Provi. We talked as a team and with Provi. And
did you guys notice? Now, I saw a channel earlier today that was talking about this, and they said it was the first question that Tortorella was asked. It was actually the second and third question. I love the fact that Tortorella, whom, by the way, had a great response to those who wanted to kneel during the national anthem, just putting this up here right here. It was actually a much, much harsher thing that he said, but Bleacher Report did not have the full quote. But I'll leave the article in the description box if you guys want to actually read it. But the fact of the matter is that Tortorella handled this perfectly. He basically told you that the Philadelphia Flyers organization had put out a statement, which, by the way, here's the statement right here. I don't pick up anything from that statement where the Philadelphia Flyers organization is condemning Provorov, and they probably should not condemn him. Fact of the matter is that you have a lifestyle that you want to live, and we do not bother you. We do not go after you, or we're not allowed to. But at the same time, though, the media does not want to extend the same courtesy to someone like, say, Provorov. By the way, Russia is not exactly a pro-gay country, so I'm pretty sure that Provorov already has some feelings, which, by the way, are of his traditional value, who, by the way, of course, this has to do with his religious beliefs, so therefore I'm not going to follow him because I'm pretty sure that a lot of the same values that he has is a lot of the same Christianic values that I have. Which brings me to my next point. Now, guys, this right here is something that we say a lot, but yet for whatever reason, it is never heard. However, it is 100% true. Ivan Provorov, as I mentioned before, Russian Orthodox, probably comes from a very, very conservative environment. Myself, evangelical, not that good at being an evangelical, am saved, but obviously I do sin like crazy, and obviously I got to get on my knees, and I got to ask God for forgiveness like anybody else. But the thing is this right here. Would anybody be saying anything to Mr. Provorov if, say, he was an atheist or if he was a Muslim? Would anybody be saying that? Even though in the Middle East they execute gays at an alarming rate, nobody wants to bring that up. I mean, dude, we had this issue when I was growing up where we had to give kids of a certain religion, we had to give them their 5 minutes to pray. Meanwhile, the kids who were Christian were not allowed to pray in class. I mean, it just goes back to the old political correctness argument. Fact of the matter is this right here. Ivan, he left, as I mentioned before, he left a country that was a little bit more repressive, and he comes to the United States to better his situation and better his family. He's here in the land of opportunity, and now he's finding out that the land of opportunity, yeah, that thing right there just went off, and quite frankly, I don't really care. The land of opportunity is very, very much beginning to look like the land that he actually left before they dropped communism. Fact of the matter is that our mainstream media, including our sports media, has turned into a bunch of, let's just say that, of course, if you call them fascist, they'll probably get upset. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the real term. They're just good old-fashioned red yellow communists. And with that right there being said, I think that Ivan handled the woke mob the right way. Now, there's one last point that needs to be made. There was this guy, a sports writer for ESPN, hockey writer. I'm not even going to start to pronounce his name. He calls him out over supporting the military, wearing a military. Well, last I checked, the United States military appreciation is something that all sports do at a they do it normally, even though obviously we've had some woke messaging being put in place in all these sports. Fact of the matter is that Military Appreciation Night is something that is honestly normal in this country. Of course, we had this video that I did, one of my first videos, simply titled Hero versus Idiot, where Ryan Clark decided to make a point to where he wanted to insult those who were very, very pro-military. He decided he wanted to insult the NFL for having these pro-military, pro-veteran functions. Of course, Ryan Clark is not exactly a bright person. We don't have to rehash that. But the fact of the matter is that the sports writer, the liberal writer, does not seem to understand that just about every year, guess what? The military is honored in some way or another. And this right here, of course, occurred on Veterans Day. And which, by the way, is also funny, too, because isn't Pride Month in the month of June? Why are we having a Pride Night in January? Very, very weird. Very, very weird timing. I just figured I would throw that out there. Oh, one last point, and I believe me, the video will be over at this right. The NHL's overall ratings have been declining for a while. They've been going downhill. Then all of a sudden, they had the Stanley Cup Finals where everything was hunky-dory, and they had this massive increase in ratings. Seem to be getting back most of their audience. And then you pull some crap like this right here. NHL ratings are not that great right now. They're only averaging about 250,000 viewers per night on ESPN, NBC Sports. I don't think it's a good idea to alienate the other half of your base, the half of your base that does not go for this sort of thing. I think it would be a good idea to stick with the patriotic base that actually enjoys hockey and does not want the politics involved. I just figure I would throw that out there. Guys, John Claymore here. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section. I'm going to get you guys' thoughts, and I'll see you guys.